Hi Ben, I'm 20 years old and feel stuck in life. Back in secondary school, I had big dreams of studying at MIT, becoming an aerospace engineer or rocket scientist, and achieving major success. I was so dedicated that I studied 8 hours a day. However, the pandemic hit, my GCSEs were cancelled, and I ended up on a BTEC course, don't know what that means, that I had no passion for. Excuse me. This experience made me realize that my drive for success was fueled by a need to impress others and gain their validation, yeah, okay, rather than pursuing something that I truly cared about. Now I'm unemployed and I've lost the will to do anything with my life. While I believe it's never too late to turn things around, I'm struggling to find any motivation. I don't have traditional goals like getting married or having kids. I'm not interested in helping out my parents who did the bare minimum for me growing up. I've also dabbled in Buddhism, which inspired me to let go of the pressure to be successful. This has made me more passive, but I don't want to fall into the trap of becoming a complete bum. Given all of this, what can motivate me to eat better, work out, and focus on being successful and rich, even though I currently have no clear motive or direction? How can I find a purpose that's true to myself rather than the one that's shaped by others' expectations? Okay. All right, I'm going to gloss over the like I wanted to study at MIT and do all that. No, actually, we should talk about that because you said that you were doing these things not because you actually wanted to, but to gain validation from other people. Yeah, loads of people do that. Like people that become doctors and lawyers and stuff like that. It's like, is this actually something that they're passionate about, or are they doing it because A, it's a safe route to lots of money, and B, it's something that seems impressive that they can tell to other people? And I would honestly say that if that was your motivation, you've dodged a bullet. Like you were doing something that you might not have been passionate about, that was something that you just wanted to do because it was impressive, and that in the end, it's like if you're doing things for the validation from other people, that's not going to fulfill you. So you probably dodged a bullet in that sense, and I would treat this as like life giving you a little bit of a push in a different direction. And if you don't know what that direction is yet, that's fine. If you want to find, I always say to people that are like, what's my purpose in life? It's like, it's okay not to have a purpose or to really know what your purpose is, as long as you are looking for something. And I think if you spend some time, don't fall into the trap of just like playing video games all day and doing bullshit. It's like, get out into the world and travel a bit and see some things and like do some form of exploration and try a bunch of different things until you find something that is like the Japanese concept of ikigai, which is the Venn diagram, the cross section of I believe it's what you are good at, what you can get paid for, what the world needs, and what's like, there's one more, I can't remember what it is, but it's like this cross section of all these things. It's like if you can find a need that you can fill that's valuable to other people that you enjoy filling, there you go, there's your purpose, right? And that can change throughout your life. That's totally fine. I've lost the will to do anything with my life. I'm struggling to find motivation. So I think that motivation, it can come from external sources. Like it can come from things that are extrinsically motivating, like pressure from your family or parents. Like a lot of people get into the things like you're talking about because they feel external pressure from other people. So it can be extrinsic motivation like that, or it can be that like you hit rock bottom and you realize that you need to make a change in your life, and then that motivates you because you want to feel better. Like what motivates us originally was like things that would help us with our social standing, or to procreate, or to eat, or like any of our basic survival needs. If you think about yourself like a machine, like those are your motivating factors. You want to eat, you want to fuck, and you want people to like you, right? And it's, but if you're placing it all on just like the external, so just the social aspect, you end up doing what you were thinking of doing and just like going down a path that's not right for you, that's not internally fulfilling. So there needs to be some sort of intrinsic motivation as well. And these are the things that it's like, what do you enjoy? What makes you tick? What's the internal factor that's like, this is something that I can apply myself to, that I enjoy applying myself to, and I feel a reward for doing. And that's different for everybody. I can't tell you what that is. I can just tell you that you can go out and look for things and find that. And generally, you can tie the two together. So it's like if you want to, I'm writing a post at the moment. I think I might have already published it, but I like took it down for rewrites, and it's called it's about self-worth, and we've talked about this on the stream before, and I've talked about this in the forums and stuff, so I won't go into too much detail, but essentially, if you want to build a high sense of self-worth in yourself, you should build it on several pillars of like, okay, here's my friendships and relationships, and that feeds back into my sense of value as a person, and then here's the things that I do for other people that make me feel valuable, and there is some, obviously there's a social aspect to that, and that's fine. if there is some sort of external thing, but as long as it's internally fulfilling as well. So like one of the pieces of advice I give to people, if you don't know what you're doing with your life at the moment and you want to do something that makes you feel good and is also giving to other people, go volunteer. Like go work at a soup kitchen on weekends, or like a food bank or something. Like do something that gives back to people around you, or like fucking go to the grocery store and help old people pack their groceries and then carry them to their cars and stuff. Like whatever it is, just do something that isn't really giving you anything directly, but is giving to other people, and that will make you feel better about yourself and raise your own sense of self-worth in the interim. If you're feeling like, oh, I'm a piece of shit, I'm doing nothing with my life, right? Until you find the thing that you want to be doing. And even then, you should still maybe do these things because they're good things to be doing. Where was I? Yeah, dabbled in Buddhism, which inspired me to let go of the pressure to be successful. It's like my thinking on that sort of thing. It's like you can go and live in a cave and meditate and like let go of all worldly sessions. It's like attachment is the root of suffering, and it's like, yeah, maybe. My perspective on that is that if I don't want to, like, I'm here to live, right? I was put on this earth to experience things, and some of those things are going to be good and some of those things are going to be bad. And you can look at life that it's like, well, if the things are bad, maybe they should be avoided. I think that's bullshit. Or you can look at the bad things as like the other side of the good, and they are the price that you pay for the good things. It's like if you have an amazing relationship, you know, you have this wonderful time with this person, you have great kids together, everything's wonderful, your life's amazing, you never fight. Like even if you have the perfect idealistic relationship, you have a beautiful life, great job, all that stuff, one of you is going to die. It's going to really suck for the other one. There's going to be a few years there where you're experiencing tremendous pain as a result of it. And you can either say, oh, well, it's not worth it, and just never get into a relationship. Or you can go, okay, well, and this is obviously an extreme example, but you can even take this on a smaller level. It's like, well, I want to get in a relationship, or I fear commitment because I don't want to get hurt. It's like if you treat that as a necessary and healthy consequence of having had something to lose in the first place, then it doesn't hurt as much, and you start to go through life and experience everything for what it is, and it gives life a hell of a lot more depth if you can face the negative aspects of it as well as the positive. Anyway, I'm sort of getting off a course here, but yeah, I think that most motivation, like relying on motivation to make you do things, is a bad way to go about it, at least for me. And some people can just rely on like, oh, watch a motivational video or watch a Hamza video or whatever, and then they just go and do work because of that, right? And then it's the reward for doing something difficult that makes them feel good. So I would posit that the reason that you don't feel good and you don't have motivation is not because there's nothing that you care about. It's because you don't have the experience at the moment of pushing through some sort of difficult thing in order to get to the other side and then get some sort of long-term intrinsic reward from it. Like doing difficult things makes us feel good. Going to the gym and working out makes us feel good. Accomplishing a difficult work task makes us feel good. It's persevering through difficulty and then achieving things that makes us feel good, right? So until you find out what that thing is, it's like just find something that you can do. Find a job or some sort of thing that you can apply yourself to, and then don't rely on external measures of motivation or even like motivation comes from action. It's by doing things that you then start to feel more motivation, because you start to create habits. It's like if the motivation that you feel is to do really simple things like watching YouTube and shit like this, it's like that's giving you a high level of stimulation, and it's taking over your motivation and reward systems in order to do it. And so if you try to rely on like, oh, I'm just going to watch a Hamza video, or I'm going to feel good about myself, or I'm going to look for motivation externally before I do something, it doesn't work like that. It's when you push yourself internally to start working on things that then that feeds back into your own sense of self-worth and good positive feelings, and then that motivates you further, and then eventually it becomes ingrained in your brain as a habit. It's like if you take a and I wrote a post about this on habit forming that explains all the chemistry and stuff, but if you take, like, say you have a forest in front of you and you want to make a path from one end to the other, in the beginning, it's really difficult to get through it. And you can think of this as the motivation, as your like sense of drive. It's really difficult to get through the forest. But if every day you hack away a little bit of the forest and you make a little path for yourself, eventually you have this nice smooth path, and getting from one end to the other becomes way easier. So you can think of this as like how the pathways are formed in the brain. So if you want to feel motivated, start doing stuff and make those pathways and form those pathways. And then it's much easier for you to traverse them. You don't need as much motivation. Not only that, but the sense of accomplishment you get from doing things then feeds back into your own internal sense of motivation, making you want to keep walking that path. Does that make sense, Anton? Have I explained that well?
Yeah, it does.
So he says, given all of this, what can motivate me to eat better, work out, and focus on being successful and rich, even though I have no clear motive or direction? It's like, why do you want these things? why do you want to eat better? Why do you want to work out? Why do you want to be successful and rich? What would that achieve in your life, right? And it was like, well, I just feel better. It's like, at the end of the day, there's no point to any of that. Like, what's the point to anything that any of us do or does, right? There's no real, at the end of the day, like, everything is kind of meaningless, but at the same time, that gives it meaning. You can choose the things that have meaning in your life, and I think that's beautiful. So examine your motivations for why you want those things. And then if you truly want them, discard the way that you feel about it and discard the level of motivation that you have, and try and understand on a rational level. It's like, okay, well, if I eat better, I'll feel better and I'll be more happy and my gut will be better and my brain will work better, and that'll just go into every other area of my life. If I work out, I'll be stronger, I'll have healthier bones, I'll live longer, all of this stuff, and then I'll get to enjoy a longer life of feeling better, which was the first step. And then being successful and rich. It's like, why do you want to be successful and rich? Is that for validation from other people? It's okay if it is to a certain extent, but also it's like there's other benefits that gives you. It's like, if you have a certain amount of power and influence and money, you can affect real change in the world. You can take care of your family, you can take care of your friends, you don't have to worry about or struggle about things. And so if you actually examine, like, why do you want these things, if you don't feel good enough to try and achieve them right now, that's fine. But start working on, rather than trying to give yourself motivation, just start working on taking small action towards those things, and the motivation will come later. Think of it like think of everything you do, all of your behaviors and actions and thoughts. Think of it like a vortex. And if you're in a certain direction, you're like pulled in that direction. So if you're just like sitting about watching YouTube and all this stuff, those are your habits. That's your vortex. That's the direction that you are pulled in. If you start moving in the other direction, it's hard at first, but then you get to the middle, and then you start getting pulled in the other direction. You start vortexing and spiraling in that direction. And then suddenly you wake up 5-10 years from now, and you're happy and you're motivated and you're eating well and you're going to the gym. You don't have to think about any of it anymore, because you laid the groundwork and you did the work to build those pathways, and to not rely on like waiting for motivation to come, but just to do those things and realize that the reward comes from the action itself, if that makes sense. Someone in the chat says, I like the way you think. Keep your chin up. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I don't think I've seen you around before, Mr. Joke in here. So welcome to the stream, or the server if you joined the server. Anton, you got anything to add to that?
Yeah, well, when you was talking about motivation, like the fact that you're trying to look for motivation makes you unmotivated in a way. Like, if you wake up in the morning and like you go to your phone, you watch Instagram for motivation, it makes your dopamine like so low, and it doesn't make you want to do stuff anymore. Like,
yeah, that's a very good point.
That makes you actually feel good.
Yeah, so, and I wrote a post about this. It's in the behavioral forum. It's called "Unfuck Your Dopamine." And it's like people talk about dopamine detox, and they talk. It's like, if you just don't do anything and just purge all of the dopamine out of your body, and it's like, that's not really how. I like to think of it more in terms of stimulation. So if you do something that's really stimulating first thing in the morning, like you wake up, you look at your phone, you browse Reddit, you watch a YouTube video, you jerk off, whatever it is, you've increased your level of stimulation to the point where that is your like expected level of reward, and then so anything less stimulating than that becomes fucking impossible, right? So it's like I'm getting to the point now where I'm seriously considering just keeping my phone off until 5 p.m., right? And just not allowing myself to do any of that shit. Because one of the most productive periods I've ever had in my life, and I still try to implement this from time to time, so I do slip, is I call it just no non-productive entertainment before 5 p.m. So I can read, I can go for a walk, I can clean, I can listen to a podcast if I want to. Like, I don't listen to music though, because I find that a little bit too stimulating. It's like I can do like I play guitar, like I can do anything that isn't work as long as it's not super stimulating. It's not non-productive entertainment. So it's like I see playing guitar or reading a book as a productive form of entertainment. I'm learning a skill. I don't know. I find reading, even though it is a form of entertainment, I find it to be productive. I think it's like a healthy, positive thing to do. So I don't treat that as a negative form of entertainment. And again, it's like, if I want to procrastinate by cleaning my apartment, which as you can see I did yesterday, then wonderful. That's fine, because now I have a clean apartment and that makes me feel good. And then I don't have an excuse the next day to procrastinate by doing that again. What were we talking about? Yeah, so like think of it in terms of stimulation. If you're doing stimulating things and then you're wondering why you don't have any motivation after that, it's like, well, I don't want to work. I just want to play video games. It's like if that's what your brain is used to, if that's the level of stimulation that it's used to, of course you don't want to do something that's less stimulating. Whereas if you remove all of that distraction, you're like, okay, I'm gonna buy a physical fucking alarm clock and I'm gonna delete all the apps from my phone. I'm not gonna go on Instagram. I'm not gonna go on YouTube. I'm not gonna jerk off. I'm gonna push all of that. And I even say you can't do these things. Just push them till 5 p.m., right? Just don't do any of it until 5 p.m., right? And then no more pressure on yourself. You don't have to do fuck all. Like whatever you want to do during the day, as long as it doesn't involve any of these really stimulating things, that's fine. You will very quickly find that, like, maybe the first day you just like sit and read a book, or the second day you're gonna be like, you know, I'm kind of bored, right? And then the first impulse is going to be, okay, well, I'll just go on Instagram. No, don't go on Instagram. Don't go on YouTube. Allow yourself to be bored. And then eventually your brain's going to come up with that idea. It's like, maybe I sit down and do some work. Yeah, there we go. It's like maybe I clean this up, or maybe I sort that out, or maybe there's like a backlog of stuff that you feel like you need to do. But it's like if you have a task that you want to do, if you have a work-related task, say it's like writing a page or something, eventually, and it'll probably only take a day or two, your brain's going to be like, okay, let's sit down and write, and you'll get enjoyment from doing it. You'll find it stimulating because your threshold for stimulation is down here. It's not boosted and jacked up and fucked and fried, right? It's down here. And again, if you want to read that post, discord.gg/self-improvement, it's in the behavioral form. It's completely free. It's called Unfuck Your Dopamine. And there's another one there about unfucking your attention span as well. So I hope you find those helpful. Okay,
and
next question.
You will be in those like vortexes, as you say, like the positive ones. It's addictive, you know, like you want to keep improving. And you will have setbacks along the way. That's normal, but it's important to make those setbacks as short as possible.
For sure. Yeah, I'm guilty. Like sometimes I'll go for weeks and I'll just be like, fuck, I haven't done anything in a month. But it's like once you get back in it, it's fine. And I also think that beating yourself up too much for slipping, like people put a tremendous amount of pressure on themselves to maintain habits and things like this. And I think that can also be counterproductive, because it's like if you're keeping up a habit for a week, like the goal I don't think should be the number. The goal is not like how many days in a row can I do this? Because then it's like if you do it for 100 days in a row and then you break, suddenly that you feel this like massive level of disappointment that can actually make you spiral into completely falling off the track that you were on. If you instead just focus on how can I make this day as good as it can be and not put too much pressure on yourself, but it's like, okay, these are the habits that I want to achieve. I fucked up yesterday, let's make it better today. And rather than focusing on like streaks and focusing on like the amount of days or the amount of time that you've done this and yeah, streaks, instead focus on making behavioral changes and being like focus on the behavior itself, not the amount of time that you've done it for. Does that make sense? Focus on the process, not the outcome, is essentially what I'm saying.
Yeah, a small side question from me on this topic.
Yeah.
What's your opinion on like those influencers who have like 1 hour or 2 hours of a morning routine before their day starts? Like they do meditation, they do some yoga.
Yeah.
They write in their gratitude journal and stuff.
So I think we talked about
necessary.
Yeah, I think we talked about this on one of the recent streams, but I'll go over it again. And I wrote a post about this. It's morning and evening routines for success. I think that your morning routine, like so the people that have like tremendous morning, like if you start work at a certain time, say you wake up at 7 and you start work at 10 and you have this 3-hour gap, you're probably better filling that with things like meditation and journaling and ice baths and you know, writing a whatever, like whatever it is that you do in that period. It's probably better that you're doing something that's like good mental health stuff, good physical health stuff, like you're working out and all, you drink lemon water and you have this like complex routine. If there's a certain start point that you start work, if you're like me and you work for yourself, I think it's best that you start as soon as possible. It's like I wake up in the morning on a good day, I wake up in the morning around 8:30, right? Usually slightly before that, because I set an alarm for 8:30 and my body wakes me up at the end of the cycle, because I try and keep a consistent sleep schedule, which is one of the evening routine things. So because my sleep schedule is consistent, I tend to wake up a little bit before my alarm at the height of my thing, and then I wake up feeling quite nice in the morning. I don't feel groggy and fucked up. I feel like you're ready to start the day, let's say. And then I'll take a quick hot shower and then jump into an ice bath. I'll do an ice bath for about 3 minutes, ramp up my dopamine. I'll then go out and stand in the sun with a cup of tea and a smoke. And I'll smoke a cigar and I'll stand in the sun. And all of this takes about 45 minutes. And then my dopamine is massively boosted. Not in a way that's because I've overstimulated myself. It's less that I'm getting a reward for doing things and more that I am increasing the level that is available in my brain to motivate me, if that makes sense. Like there is a difference between overstimulating yourself and jacking up the amount of like available neurotransmitter in order to stimulate you. Does that make sense? So I have, if you know, go to a doctor, they'll say I have ADD, right? I'm inattentive, I'm very, very difficult to motivate. So these are things that I have found that if I add to my morning, I'm way more productive during the day. Like I take an ice bath. It's like doing fucking amphetamines, right? It gets me ramped up and ready to work, and then I can sit down and I can focus on work, and it's a hell of a lot easier. And that takes about 45 minutes. I used to be the kind of guy that's like, oh, I'll wake up and I'll meditate and I'll this and all that. And I found out that these are kind of just forms of procrastination. And it was getting to the point where it was like, you know, I wasn't starting work till 3 or 4 hours into the day. And then by that point, I'm having my afternoon fucking crash. And then it's like, okay, well, what was the point in all of this? And so I think your morning routine should be as short as possible to set you up for your day. If you don't need to do a fucking ice bath, don't do an ice bath. That's fine. Like if you're doing it for a specific reason, like it really helps you focus with work, great. Or you're doing it before you work out because you feel like it jacks up your level of adrenaline before a workout and helps you grow muscle, great, fantastic. But everything in your morning routine should have a very specific purpose that is maybe not essential, but like very helpful in starting your day. And the reason I go out into the sun is so I get my circadian rhythm in check. There's some Huberman shit on that. We've talked about it in the podcast before. We've talked about it on the stream before. And all of the other stuff. So it's like if you want daily habits, like learning a language, like journaling, like meditating, all of this stuff, I find it's better to push those things to after you've worked. Right? Because if you're doing them in the morning, it might be a form of procrastination. It's not actually helping you get the shit done that you need to get done. It's like the person that wakes up and starts working is going to be more effective and get farther than the person that spends 2 hours on this complex, ridiculous morning routine. If you want to journal, if you want to, like, I suggest journaling as a habit. It's one of the things in that post. Journaling is a really great habit. Meditation is a really great habit. Fucking whatever else. You know, name things that people put in their morning routine, right? If you can push these things to the evening, you're still doing them during the day, but you're not using them as a form of procrastination in the morning. So I think often really complex morning routines are nothing more than it's just performative procrastination. Like it's just like it's either influencers that are like, look at my 2-hour morning routine, they get some sort of gratification from that, or it's just a form of procrastination. It's like they're still pushing away the things that they actually want to be doing. And there's caveats to this. Like, again, certain people work later in the day and they have a set time for doing that and they have all of this time in the morning. And I think that is better spent on these things than it is on like scrolling YouTube or whatever. Great. Or you have like a different circadian rhythm. You're the kind of person that finds their most motivation and work in the evening at like 5 p.m. If you're that kind of person, and you can find that if you in the morning you do all this complex stuff, and then even if you just like go and scroll there are people that can watch YouTube for 6 hours a day and masturbate in the middle of the day and massively jack up their reward and then still get work done in the evening. If you're that kind of person, ignore all of this advice. It's like it's really about what works best for you. I find that I have the most energy to and the most focus to do complex tasks between like 10 o'clock and 2 p.m. right? So I tend to try and do it between 10 o'clock and 2 p.m. And that little like 8:30 to 10 or 8:30 to 9:30 or whatever is just me trying to ramp myself up to get into that mode better and faster and more efficiently, right? And then after that, I take like a 2 p.m. nap. I'll do like less complex stuff in the afternoon. So I'll like answer questions or I'll do, and then around like 4 or 5 p.m., my energy levels start to come up again, which is why I do this stream at 5 p.m. It's like, if I did this at 2, shit answers to everything. Like I need to be taking a nap at 2 o'clock, right? And then I go to the gym after the nap, then I do this. And then after this, after like 5 p.m., I do whatever the fuck I want for the rest of the day. I'll go and socialize, I'll play Counter-Strike, I'll do whatever. It doesn't matter because I've got the things that I need done for the rest of the day. And then in the evening, so evening routines, I think you should set around trying to wind down and prepare yourself for the next day. So it's like I suggest that you spend an hour, if not 2 hours at the end of the day, where like I have orange LED lights that I put up across these beams. I turn off all the lights. I turn on the orange stuff so it dims. The whole environment is like dim. It's like the inside of a cave. It's very nice. I tend not to eat within a couple hours of going to bed because I find that keeps me awake. And in the evening, I'll do things like clean up and you know, reset for the next day. So I'll clean the environment, I'll do the dishes, I'll make sure the place is nice for waking up in the morning so I'm not waking up into a fucking cluttered mess and I have to think about that. Like there's no distractions in the morning. And then I'll do my journaling at night, I'll do my reading at night, I tend to do my meditation in the evening, and all of that helps me wind down to get to sleep. And then I sleep better and I keep my sleep consistent and I wake up the next day ready to do a very quick morning routine, ready to get started. So I think morning routines should be as short as possible and have as few things as possible, just the necessary things in order to get your day started and set your circadian rhythm. So for me, that's ice baths and sunlight. And I add a cup of tea and a smoke to the fucking sunlight, because why not? And then evening, you can pack in all of that stuff and get away from screens and bright light and dim yourself and calm yourself down and get yourself into a state where you can sleep well. So that's my perspective on that. Answer your question?
Yes, I love what you said about the unnecessary stuff, quote unquote, like meditation, to push after the work. Because sometimes it can look, if you look at your morning routine and you have to do a meditation, your training, your gratitude journal, that it can be like intimidating. And it's like, oh, I have to do so much before I can start work. And it takes a lot of your dopamine as well.
Yeah, and it makes your work less effective. Like sometimes I find that I'm a little bit too like, you know, my levels of sort of stimulation vary, right? And sometimes I'm really jacked up and ramped up and hyperactive, and sometimes I'm calm. I don't even want to stand up, right? And I sometimes find that if I meditate in the evening, great, it helps me wind down, get to sleep, etc. Sometimes I'll meditate in the morning before working because I'm a little bit too like, and I need to calm down a little bit to get myself into the right state to do the things that I want to do. It varies, but like the point is that your morning routine should be as small and as simple as possible to get you into a workflow, essentially. Otherwise, because what really is the point of a morning routine if not to start your day, right? Yeah. But if you're the kind of person that has the luxury of having like 6 hours in the morning before you need to really be doing anything, your work schedule set and you're like hourly or whatever, do whatever. It doesn't really matter at that point. But the majority of people that are asking these questions are in that sort of, how do I get into work as quickly as possible? So yeah, eliminate all the fucking distractions and make it as simple as possible just to ramp you up to get into workflow. Okay, next question. Hi Ben, I've been struggling with feeling invisible in social situations and it's starting to take a toll on my mental health. I'm a nice, good person, and when I initiate conversations, people seem happy to talk to me. Well, that's a good sign. But I've noticed that no one ever reaches out to me first. Whether I'm in a group setting or just trying to connect with people, I often feel ignored, like my presence doesn't matter. I'm socially awkward and I have autism, and I wonder if that might be contributing to the way others treat me. I try to be considerate. I've even gone out of my way to help people out by paying for things and sharing what I have, but it still feels like I'm not really seen or heard. Lately, these experiences are pushing me toward isolation. I'm starting to wonder if I should just accept loneliness and embrace a more solitary lifestyle like a modern-day hermit or hikikomori. I still manage to go to work, shop, and take care of myself, but I'm finding more peace in my own company and avoiding social interactions. Is it wrong to want to be a hermit if that's where I find peace? How can I deal with these feelings of invisibility and loneliness? Should I keep trying to connect with others, or is it okay to step back and enjoy my own space? So the first question I have for you is, do you genuinely enjoy being alone more? Or, I mean, it's normal for people to like, you know, introvert, extrovert, whatever. It's normal for people to like both spending time by themselves and spending time with other people. And it sounds like you are this kind of people. And is it that you find, quote unquote, find peace spending time on your own? Or is it more that you are experiencing distress from the social experiences that you're having? And even though you want to be having better social experiences, you are now turning to the thought of isolation because it makes things easier for you and you don't have to stress about this anymore. And I would say from the way that you've asked your question, it's the latter. So I wouldn't suggest becoming a hermit or a hikikomori. Like, even if you have autism or whatever, we are social creatures. We need other people, right? So you're saying that people they seem happy to talk to you. That's great. Right? That's a good first step. Most people don't even have that experience if they're talking about, like, most socially isolated people have problems talking to other people in the first place. So this is a great first step, right? The thing that you're talking about where it's like people don't really reach out to you and this and that, most people this is becoming really, really common. And this isn't just a you problem. This isn't something that's unique to you. Even people that have what they would consider to be good friends, there is becoming a massive trend that people are communicating less and people are reaching out to each other less. And I keep giving this advice to people that I talk to. It's like, sometimes you need to be the initiatory friend. It's like, you might have a friend group of 10 people that, if you don't reach out to these people, you'll never see them. It doesn't mean that you're bad friends, and it doesn't mean that you don't get along. It doesn't mean that you're not compatible people and all of this stuff. It just means that you need to be the proactive one in that relationship. And that can seem really sucky, but sometimes you just got to take that responsibility. And I don't think this is a good thing for society as a whole, but I think there's just fewer people that make effort to keep in contact with their friends. And so if you don't do it, they won't do it. And it doesn't mean that they don't like you, and it doesn't mean that they don't value you. It just means that they're probably also thinking the same. Why does this person never reach out to me? It's like, take some fucking responsibility. Like, both of you should be reaching out, right? So like, this isn't necessarily a bad thing, and I wouldn't take it negatively. Like, you're not saying here that you struggle, or do you? Hold on. You're not saying that you struggle to make friends. You're saying that people don't really reach out to you. And okay, whether I'm in a new group setting or just trying to connect with people, I often feel ignored, like my presence doesn't matter. It's perhaps you need to be more dominant in conversations. You need to be more dominant in your interactions with people. And I don't mean dominant in just like completely fucking take over, but maybe you need to take more initiative in the conversations that you're having with people. Like, if you're just sitting in a group with other people and like, why are these people not taking an interest in me? And it's like, well, maybe you need to be more proactive about, hey, how you been? What's been going on? And so you initiate, basically. And you might find as well that if you do this, like, people love talking about themselves, and people love it when you give them attention in situations. So if you're being a proactive person and giving people lots of attention, asking them questions, getting them talking about themselves and initiating conversations, and being the person that always reaches out and going, hey, how you doing? You might find that you actually make better friends this way, and that these people then start to reach back out to you because you've extended that branch, and because you've cemented themselves in your mind as someone to talk to. Right? Does that make sense? I think that makes sense. Anything you would add to that?
He would massively benefit from trying out like the mayor. Play the mayor.
Yes.
In a cafe or something.
Yes. Okay, this is a fun game. Yeah. So I know you're watching the stream. I know you're fucking watching the stream. The person asked this question. So I'm going to give you a bit of homework, and I genuinely want you to do this, and I expect you to do this. And if you don't do this, I'm going to be disappointed with you. And so is Anton. So there's a game that we like to play called Playing the Mayor. And so you're going to go to a bar or a restaurant, somewhere where there's lots of people gathered, preferably like a bar, preferably somewhere where lots of people are standing and not necessarily sitting down. So you can do it with people who are sitting down. There's no reason not to. But if they're standing, you're going to find this a little bit easier because it's a little bit more fluid. So go to a place like this, and if you don't drink, that's fine. You can get like a glass of water or an orange and soda or something like that. You don't have to drink to do this. And you can go by yourself, or you can go with somebody if you find that gives you a little bit of support. Doesn't really matter. But what matters is that you do this exercise. And so you go in, and you're just going to, from the moment you enter the door, you're just going to make your way around the room. You can go clockwise, you can go anti-clockwise. It doesn't matter. But your goal is to speak to every single person in the room. And it doesn't have to be a big conversation. It can be a very small thing. You literally just walk in, you go, hey, how you doing? I'm going to call you Jim for the part. I know your name's not Jim, but I'm going to call you Jim for the purpose of this. Hey, how you doing? Jim, hi. Having a good night? Great. Enjoying your drinks? Fantastic. See you later. Hi, how you doing, Jim? And you just work your way around the room doing this to everybody. And if you want to, you can stop and have conversations have like a 2-minute conversation, 5-minute conversation, whatever. It doesn't matter. But the point is just to make your way around the entire room doing this with everybody. And this achieves a couple of things. In the beginning, you're going to find this really awkward and weird. Some people in the room are going to be like, who the fuck's this guy? Fuck off, right? Some people are going to be, hey, and most people are going to be like, hey, how you doing, right? Because they're going to think from the way that you're acting and going around doing this, and this is why it's called playing the mayor, that you're like the mayor, right? They might think you own the fucking bar, right? Because who does this? They either think they're either going to think that you're a regular here, and people just see you all the time, and this is just how you act. You're just a friendly, sociable guy. And so by the time you make your way around the room, the people at the end are going to be ready for you, and you're coming. They're going, "Hi, how you doing?" And as you walk away, who the fuck was that guy? Is he the mayor? Does he own the place? Obviously he's a regular. And if you do this, like say that like you can actually become a regular by doing this. You can become the person that everybody that goes to this bar knows. Like, oh hey, it's Jim. Oh hey, Jim. And then every time you walk in, everybody's like, it's Jim. Look, hi, it's Jim. You know, and suddenly you're just the guy that knows everybody there, right? And as you're going through, you're going to find people that you're like, I don't really care about this person. This is boring. And you're going to find people, if you stop and have a couple of conversations, that it's like, oh, these people are cool, and then you end up making friends. And then if you do this like every time, like just go to this place like two times a week, 3 times a week, and every time you go in, introduce yourself to all of the people that you don't know and the people that you've seen before. How's it going? You know, and you say hi to them, whatever. And then eventually you become the person that knows everybody in this place, and you're like, oh, well, this person would make a good match with this person. You walk up and you go, hey, have you met this guy? He's also interested in this. I think you guys would get along great. And suddenly you are at the middle of this massive social network of people, and all you had to do was just introduce yourself to everybody in the room, right? It's a wonderful game. It's a really great it's a very fun game. Absolute worst case scenario. Absolute worst case scenario. Right? And this never happens, but I'm just going to prime your mind just in case it does. This never happens. This won't happen, right? But absolute worst case scenario, you make an arse of yourself and you make it really fucking awkward. Just go to a different bar. you just do it in a different place. But the most likely scenarios, some people are going to think you're weird. Most people are going to be like, who's this cool, fun, sociable guy? By the time you're halfway around the room, people are going to notice that you're doing this, and they're going to be ready, and they're going, hi, how you doing? And they're going to treat you differently because of this. Yeah, you got anything to add, Anton, to the playing the mayor thing? It's something that I've missed.
From my own experiences, it's socially terrifying at start.
Yeah.
But what it does, it gives you momentum.
Yes.
Like you're getting out of your head with this exercise, and this is so important.
Yeah, like the first 3 or 4 people, you're going to be shitting your pants. But once you get like a quarter of the way into the room, you're like, oh, this is fun. And like you don't have to hold a conversation with anybody. You just need to introduce yourself to everybody in the room. Hi, Jim. How you doing? What's your name? Bob. Nice to meet you, Bob. You having a good night? Great. I'll talk to you later. Next person. And you just try and get around the room as quickly as possible. You can stop and have conversation. That's fine, but try and keep it to a minimum until you've made your way around the room. Then you can go back and like talk to people. And they'll be like, why? And if anybody goes like, who are you? Why are you doing this? And you go, oh, I'm Jim. I'm just, hi. How you doing? You know, just having fun. Just having a good time. It's like, why are you doing this? Because it's fun, you know, because we haven't met, you know, it doesn't matter. And I like, not in like that sort of setting, but one of the first things, now that I think about it, I used to do this. So I went to a high school, like in primary school, I was bullied. Nobody fucking liked me. High school, I tried to like change my methodology for like who I tried to change my identity and who I was. And it worked to a certain extent. And one of the things that I did, and this was when I was like 15, 16, the high school that I went to was like a hub high school for a bunch of places, because I lived in the middle of the Scottish Highlands, and there was like one main high school and then a bunch of other ones that fed into it. Like there was like 6 years in high school, and after 4, a bunch of people came in from different high schools to join ours, because a bunch of people left after the 4th year, and so each school alone didn't have enough students, and so they conglomerated them into our school. And so every year, bunch new people turned up at our school that were like either a year older or a year younger than me. So for like 3 years, I did this. Every time people turned up, they'd just be sitting in the common room, and you could tell they would like sit in their own clique with like the other 10 students from their school, not really talking to the other. It's like that high school dance thing where the boys are at one end, the girls at the other end. It's people from different schools. And I would just walk up and go, hi, don't think we've met. I'm Ben. How you doing? Right? And just introduce myself to all of the new people, made them feel welcome, made them feel like, oh, here's some. And then I became the guy that they would talk to. And I didn't have like very many strong friend circles whilst I was in high school, but like the stoner circle and this high school circle and the skateboard guys and the football people, and there was like a bunch of different cliques that I could just dip in and out of all. Like I wasn't like really close with any of those circles, but none of them disliked me either. I was like, and then it's like there was the nerds and the chess people, and during free periods I'd go and play chess with them, and then it's like there was nobody that I couldn't be like, hey, how you doing, you know. And just from the simple practice of just introducing yourself to people. So that's a really great way to expand your network. And yeah, thank you, Anton, for bringing that up. That was great. I think it's a good place to wrap up, unless you have anything else you want to talk about.
I'm currently good. But yeah, the social momentum it gives you is brilliant, the playing the mayor.
Yes.
Even like if you're in a normal, like at the train station, and you want to start a conversation, it goes way easier because you're used to like starting a new conversation.
Yeah. It just being in the habit of introducing yourself to people, and you realize it's like, oh my god, there's actually nothing that goes wrong when I do this. Like you fear that you're going to go out and they're like, who are you to, how dare you talk to us whilst we're having a drink? Most people are not like that. You will encounter people like that, but 99% of the time, people are going to be like, hey, how you doing? Like I've had so many. I used to travel by like hitchhiking around and jumping in people's cars and going to random cities and playing guitar in that city to make money to either stay in a hostel or whatever. But a lot of the time I didn't have enough money to like stay in a hostel or whatever. And there have been several occasions where no, I'll talk about that another time. But there were several occasions where it's like, okay, hostel's 50 euros. I have 20. I'm in like an expensive place, or I need to eat or stuff, whatever it was. I just don't have enough money to spend the night somewhere. And it's getting late. I can't really busk anymore. I'd usually go to the student quarter of the city and either be like, hey, I'm going to buy you guys a drink with this like 20 euros that I have. I need a place to stay tonight, so let's get to know each other. I'm going to sleep on one of your couches, right? And usually people are like, who's this guy? Like, very rarely ever got a negative reaction to that. Or I'd just be playing and people come up like, where are you staying in the city? And I go, I don't know. And they go, you're staying with me. So it's like you can impose yourself on people to a certain degree, and and people are friendly. What was my point with that? See, yeah, it's like if you're saying that you're struggling, you feel invisible in social situations. It's like, well, perhaps that is the way that you interact with people is very reserved, and again, if you have autism, this is, I guess, a normal thing. I'm socially awkward, have autism, and we've talked about this before with this specific person. It's like, even if you have autism, even if you're socially awkward, I've had clients that, like, unless you have like really extreme can't function properly autism, which from talking to you don't, right? The more that you practice social things, even if you have difficulties with that, you will still learn, and you will still learn to interpret patterns, and you'll learn how people behave and why they behave in certain ways. And it's like, even if you're bad at the intuitive side of that, you can still build up the rational side of it and get better in social situations, and it comes through practice. So before next week, this is, I love this is the kind of shit we normally reserve for the fucking coaching clients, right? So consider yourself lucky and fucking do it. Go do the Play the Mayor thing. It'll be great. You'll have such a good time. Anton's done it. I've done it. Every client's done it. It's a really great time. You'll have a wonderful experience, I promise you. And I look forward to you coming back and talking about it next week. Don't ignore this. I'll know if you ignore this. All right, that's a good place to wrap up. I have been Ben. That has been Anton. This has been Off the Cuff. If you want to ask questions or call into the show or submit something for us to react to, it's discord.gg/self-improvement, or there's a link down in the description if that vanity link ever changes. There's a bunch of posts that you can read in there for free. It's essentially my life's work written down. You can get all of that shit for free. If you want to take coaching calls, you can take coaching calls. That's paid. Yeah. Thank you very much. We'll be back at 5 p.m. local to Sofia next week. And I'm going to give it like 10 seconds before I hit the stop streaming button, because YouTube's a cunt and it likes to cut me off. So I'm just going to hum the girl from Ipanema again.